TheYeti Radio, powered by DavidLeeImaging.com. David Lee Imaging in the Titletown Music Archive and the Live 365 app. Welcome to the Backstage Lounge on TheYetiRadio.com.
Welcome, everybody. I'm the Yeti. It's the Yeti Radio, and this is the Backstage Lounge. Tonight, we got Traumatone in studio right here with the Yeti. I'm going to start things off with a song called Untold right here on the Yeti Radio. It's the Yeti Radio's Backstage Lounge with Traumatone tonight. Welcome, everybody. We have Mr. Jesse, DJ, and Mr. Tony in tonight. Alex is out because he had to go work. Gotta hate that, right? We can't do this for a living. But so how was the drive? How long was the drive for you guys?
Almost about an hour for me.
Oh, wow.
I had to take side streets and hit a ton of traffic. So
yeah, same for us. I think we're more central Phoenix, but I think probably ends up being about the same amount of distance depending on where you're coming from in the valley.
Okay. So Jesse, I've followed you for a while, and I've always been anxious to be able to catch you live, and finally got to do that.
yes, sir.
So, how long has Traumatone been
A thing.
a thing?
Well, the first EP was released in 2003, so 20 years, 20, 21 years now.
Okay.
But
Old.
for this band, we've all just kind of been playing together for less than a year now.
Okay.
There's been different iterations of Traumatone over the years, different groups to do it live, but this, I could say this current one is the best, easily.
I agree.
You guys do put on a good show. So
Thank you, sir.
What is the meaning behind Traumatone?
Well, honestly, the honest truth is the name came before the meaning, really, because I used to be in a band with some of my friends, and we had gone into the studio to record a slew of songs, and then we're going to release it, and my friend came up with a mock record label name, and he called it Traumatone Records. And I was like, that is cool. And yeah, and then I think honestly, I think there was a Traumatone Records like in the UK or something at that time, and we weren't totally aware of it. But anyways, after that whole project, I continued writing music, and I just really liked that name, so I took it. But I mean, honestly, it does fit though, because it's the working out of, as any music or artist will tell you, it's your own emotions and things that inspire the music, and you could say it's the sound of some trauma.
Yeah, no, trauma tone. It kind of goes along with the audibles that do the audible meditation. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, when did you join the band, DJ?
I think I officially reached out to Jesse probably early November last year. I had been taking a break from music for a couple years after a cover band I was in, and feeling ready to get back out there, doing the whole Craigslist thing, which surprisingly is how I met Tony a long time ago. And I came across his listing, and I don't remember if he had a link to the tracks on that or if I had to email and then he sent them to me, but and Untold, the song that we just heard, I think that was the first riff or the first Traumatone song I had heard on the Bandcamp or whatever it was, and like just from that I was like kind of hooked, and I was interested, and so we had some phone calls and chatted about it, and I think I showed up for I guess it was like kind of a rehearsal, but it was more of like we just kind of like worked me into it, and we just jammed for a while.
It was basically like, can you play these few songs?
Yeah, and it was I could hear just from the tracks like I envisioned what it would sound like in a live setting, and I knew it would sound like really huge and powerful. So I was definitely interested at that point.
And Tony, since you guys were friends,
yeah, I was in another band myself that was, in my opinion, good, just not really productive. So I had just recently separated myself from that band, and he had told me about this band. He's like, hey, I might join this like middle kind of band, whatever, and he sent me some of the songs, and I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, it's really awesome. I'm super excited. So I was like, okay, that's awesome. And at that point, I just separated from a band, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take some time to myself and just go that route. And long story short, turns out the other drummer they had wasn't really working out for him. So I was like, well, if I can go and fill in if you want, and just play a couple songs and go from there. And if it works out, it works out. And here I am now. So that was back in February-ish time frame. Yeah.
Early February.
Yeah, it was early in the year.
Nice. I always like it when you get to hear the timing stories, because because it always works, no matter how slight it might be, but it's always cool. How long's Alex been in?
So Alex was actually a part of the previous version of Traumatone that I think was a couple years ago ish, and he actually played guitar at that time, and I've known him for a long time. I've known him since he was a kid, but he's always been a very talented musician. And this time around, once the band got rolling, we had a bass player, great bass player, Emily. She's in another band locally called Mecha Godzilla, and she's great. But she stepped down to focus on her own stuff. So I had an opening, and luckily, Alex had already kind of been still in touch with the band because he did some photos for us at like our first show with, this version. And so I just basically got a hold of him, and I was like, hey, can you play bass? And he's like, yeah. So he just jumped right back in, and
that's cool.
So now he's taking over that role this time around.
Awesome. So what are some of your biggest highlights so far?
Goodness. In the past year, man, honestly, the whole thing has just been a big highlight because we've stayed pretty consistently busy. And, I knew, not to be egotistical about it or anything, but I knew that everything was good enough that if we could get rolling, we could get rolling, And so once we started playing and the booking started coming in, we've stayed consistently busy and played at least once a month, if not 2 or 3 times. And so that's honestly like the most fun I've been having with the whole Tramatone thing, the whole run. Because initially, even though it started like 20 years ago, essentially I was just recording music at home and putting it out, and that was it. Like I said, there were a few times when a live band would get put together, but never really had the opportunity to really catch some traction and just go with it. And so like right now, it's been great. We've had some really fun shows all around town, and
lots of good feedback from what I hear.
Yes. Yeah, we've had a lot of good feedback. Very thankful for that. There's been a couple people we've met that are pretty big in the local music scene, and they've taken notice and had some really nice things to say, so we're very appreciative of that.
Awesome. And the only thing I can say is festival.
Yes, indeed. If you have an opening, we will be there.
Somebody's trying to get me to start one, and I'm like, oh, hell no. No, thank you. I do enough right now. So where do you get your music, your philosophy for what you write and how you put it together?
Lyrically or musically?
Both.
Yeah. Well, musically, so when I first started like playing guitar, when I was a teenager, like I was super into Van Halen. Like I wanted to play what Eddie played. And so I learned how to play a lot of those songs and solos, and I would just put the CDs on and play along, and it was great. It's fun. But eventually, and I think even like Eddie used to say in interviews about, feeling it. And eventually I kind of just got to a point where it was like I was playing this cool, fun stuff, but I was thinking about it, And then at that time I was also starting to play music in my friend's band. And like once I kind of discovered the epiphany of feeling your music and playing what you feel and whatever, it musically just kind of like just comes out the way it does. Like any artist has influences, like you have main bands that you like, or certain sounds that really influence you or whatever, but I've never actually consciously been like, I want to write a song that sounds like so and so or whatever. And so like to this day, musically, it's just kind of what comes out. And music has been the thing that comes naturally to me. Like I come from a line of musicians, like my dad and my grandpa, my uncle plays, like it's kind of a thing, and I've never taken lessons for anything. Everything's just been by ear. It's just natural gift, and so a lot of the times in that way, most of the time, honestly, I can honestly say musically, I don't sit down and write a riff or a drum beat, or I'll sit down and intentionally crank something out. It's usually just something that pops in my head, and then I have to sit down and figure out how to play what I'm hearing. And then, you know, songs just kind of happen after that. Lyrically, honestly, I never really wanted to be the front man. Like when Traumatone started, I lived in a small desert town in California, and there's just no musicians like that. I mean, you know, maybe a few, but it was hard. It was really hard to put together a band. And so I was writing this music, and I wanted to hear the finished product. I wanted to hear what it sounded like. I could hear maybe melodies in my head of what, you know, vocals might sound like. And so I just did it myself, not really wanting to, but I did. And that kind of just de facto became the voice of the music. And so because of that, honestly, like I never had the mentality of being a frontman or a lyricist. Like I don't consider myself a good lyricist. I really don't. Like I have to actually think pretty hard about what I want to sing about. And then for myself, like I always maintained that I never, like I'm a private person. I don't sing about my own life or my own business. I would usually see somebody else's situation or sing about a subject or something that wasn't me, you know. I'd say probably in the last couple releases, you know, things have happened in my personal life where it's like I've actually kind of changed that rule a little bit to a certain degree, but yeah, for the most part, lyrically, it's hard to write songs. Like I can write music easily, but lyrics come harder.
Okay. So who are some of your musical influences?
Oh, I grew up on Van Halen for sure. And getting older was like, I'd say like musically in that whole big new metal wave that hit in the late 90s with like Korn and Limp Bizkit and Deftones and Slipknot, like that's really what probably took hold. And if I had to say influence the sound, that's probably the closest. Like, you know, people usually ask me, what does it sound like? I would usually say it sounds like a mix of like Rammstein and Deftones. I don't know, you know, but, okay. But aside from that, like I kind of would say that probably kick-started the sound. And then after that, you know, like I said, I never intentionally sat down and was like, I want to sound like this or that. It's just what happens. Man.
Okay. DJ?
So when I started playing guitar when I was 16, like pop punk was all that was all I wanted to play. Blink-182, I think, you know, probably Green Day or Blink-182 were like the first songs I ever learned. It's mostly what I listened to in high school. And as I've gotten older, my musical taste has branched out a ton from there, you know, into heavier music genres, lighter music genres, you know, with like what's really poppy stuff or country, anything really. But in a pop punk band is actually how Tony and I met. We played in a band together in Portland called In Bloom. We were together for a few years and on an indie label and kind of doing some fun stuff there before that fizzled out. And you know, that was kind of what I focused on for the first, you know, I don't know how many years of playing guitar. Even when I moved to Arizona, the first thing I did was join a pop punk kind of emo cover band. But for this, I, you know, wanted to branch out a little bit and play something that I hadn't really played before, and you know, just like a totally different music style to challenge myself, but also just because it's stuff that I do enjoy listening to a lot now.
How long have you been in Arizona?
I moved here in August of 2020. So
did you move down together, or you just happened to?
No,
because you were in a band together in yeah. Oregon, but now you're in Arizona in a band together.
So when that band broke up, Tony moved down to Phoenix, and at that point we actually weren't like super good friends. We were in a band together for a couple years, but we weren't like really good friends. And then when he moved back to Portland, we became roommates and like really became close friends. And then he moved back to Phoenix again, and when my wife and I were kind of deciding where we wanted to live next, we came down and visited Phoenix, and we knew Tony and another friend of ours, and so it felt like moving to a place where we could already be plugged into the a social circle was a good spot, and we loved the weather, so that's kind of how that ended up working. So we joke that we like followed Tony here, but it kind of just like worked out more serendipitously than that.
Awesome. Tony?
All right. So the funny thing, real quick, just to branch off of DJ story, when we first met on Craigslist, my ad specifically was it was session drummer looking for work. That's literally what the ad was. Like, I didn't want to be in a band. I didn't want to join any new project. I was like, if you got studio time and you want me to go in there and jump in and record stuff for you just because you don't have a drummer, cool, I'm your guy. And then I get an email from their singer. It's like, hey, can you try out for this band and listen to music? I was like, I'll go and hang out, whatever. I guess I'll try it. And then it's like, we'll see. After of course, I go to the rehearsal, and he asked afterwards, so, well, do you want to join the band? And I was like, all right, whatever. So anyways, it's funny how that kind of worked out is most of the ads that I put out are for something specific, and I never get like hired for what I'm specifically asking for. I usually just join the band or just not even do anything, right? So, but anyway, as far as musical influence, when I was younger, my sisters, of course, late 80s were listening to all that hip hop stuff, which was awesome. But the 90s were really good to me. Like, once I got into, it was when I first listened to Smashing Pumpkins from like other friends. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I like rock music. This is awesome. And then back in the days when people listened to CDs, or actually sat and listened to CDs before, or I guess records, right? But hanging out with friends, and we were just showing each other CDs. Like, I brought my little pack of CDs over, and I was showing them some of mine. They were showing me some of theirs. And one friend of mine put the Anima album from Tool in there, and I was like, what is this? This is good. And from that point forward, like, Tool, I was just a crazy fanatic. I loved everything they did. The drummer was absolutely insane. He's like just an absolute god at what he does. So that is sort of what led me to my sort of progressive style of playing, in a way. Of course, Deftones, Incubus, I mean, all that 90s stuff that came out, Pearl Jam, was so good. So I feel like the 90s really sort of molded the drummer that I am today. Granted, there is a lot of good stuff that's coming out nowadays. The drummers nowadays are ridiculous. It's crazy, some of the metal drummers that they have out there.
I've met a couple of them.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, which is very inspiring, but it's also fun to watch. So, yeah, I would say the 90s definitely sort of molded.
I know a couple of drummers that need to put an IV in before they start playing.
Yeah, it is insane.
Because they're coming off stage dehydrated. So how long have you been in Phoenix?
I moved back in 2018, November of 2018. Before that, I was here like 2011 to probably 13, maybe.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. You're doing the kind of the opposite of Simon Phillips, because he was a studio musician, and I got to meet him when he was touring with Toto.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's a really, really cool story. You got any weird, strange pre-show rituals?
Not yet. Usually just getting the gear on and getting ready to go.
Go ahead.
My pre-show ritual is having all of my shit ready to go so that people aren't waiting for me to set up my gear, because that annoys me so much. Like, I'm got it all dialed, cables are all out, guitars are on their rack, and so that's my ritual, is just knowing I can get up on stage and not be anxious about trying to set up stuff and having anybody wait on me, because I hate that. And
roll it, plug it, play it.
Exactly.
Also, sound checking his mic with like Anchorman quotes. Or
yeah, that is true. I love hair metal, and so usually I'll play like some Motley Crue riff as my guitar sound check, and then for my mic sound check, I'm usually given some Anchorman quotes.
Okay, nice. So what's kind of the songwriting? Well, you kind of sort of covered it. The songwriting process, once you get the idea going, do you come at it from the vocal standpoint first, from the riff point first, the rhythm first?
Never vocals first. Like never. That's always the last thing.
Okay.
So my first instrument was drums. Like that's the thing I've played since as long as I can remember. And that's like the one instrument that I just very naturally flow onto. So, because I've picked up multiple instruments, like it can happen anyway. Sometimes it's like even just the sound of a new pedal, that I plug my guitar in. It's like, oh, that sounds cool. And then all of a sudden there's a new riff, like, whoops, or
right.
like, this new song that we're putting out, Monster, like that started with a drum beat. I was just telling the guys, like I was sitting with some friends of mine at a monthly jam session that we do, and I was just kind of sitting behind the drums waiting for whatever we were going to play next, and I just kind of started doing this thing almost out of like just passing time, and I took out my phone. I was like, I should record that real quick. So I mean, like it could be anything. It could be a guitar riff, it could be a drum beat, it could be just a melody that I hear on the keys, or I don't know. It can happen any which way, but definitely not vocally.
So vocally, when you write lyrics, where do you any specific places you go to for inspiration on them?
Not that I can think of really. Like I said, the last couple releases, there's been some more personal things that I could draw from. Other than that, it's just it kind of almost like the music. It can come from anywhere. There's a song called Moonlight on the most recent EP that that one started with like the keyboard part that starts the song, or it's the chorus, I think. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine at the time who was kind of like practicing witchcraft and stuff, and all had all these rituals tied to the moon, and we had this discussion about stuff, and basically they made a comment about some kind of curse and whatever with the moonlight, and I don't know, I can't remember exactly how I got to the lyric, but eventually I had that keyboard part recorded, and then I said something about the moonlight. And then, of course, the lyrics turned out to be something totally different than that. But, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of get stuck in a rut and throw up a prayer, and I'm like, hey, like, I need some help writing lyrics. Can you give me something? And then something comes along.
Yeah.
Moonlight's an underrated banger, by the way. Like, check that song out. When I heard that song, it's maybe not the most interesting to play or listen to live. I don't know what people think about any of the songs we're playing live, like individually, but there's something about that song I just really like. It's super catchy.
Yeah, he super likes it. We're playing it this weekend.
Yeah, I'm kind of I think I'm the one that like pushed for it to ever like eventually be in the set, because it's kind of like a little bit of a cross genre song, and some other like friends of mine who I'd played it for were like, oh, this is really, really catchy. It's like nothing like much of our other songs. So
okay. Since you think you have more or a better permanent opportunity in this environment, you think you might ever go back and pull stuff from previous albums and
yeah. I mean, like some of the songs that we play now are some of the earliest works. Like Untold was off the first EP. We play that pretty much every show. I mean, he super loves it. Like he'll throw a fit if we don't put it in the set list. And I can see why. Yeah. There's definitely a few songs that we do. I pretty much like to pick stuff out, from the older material, because honestly, like usually with most artists, the earlier work is some of the better stuff. Because I honestly there's stuff in the Traumatone catalog I can't stand. Like I just won't listen to it. I think it's trash.
I think there's like one album that we don't play a single song from.
Yep.
Okay.
Or a couple.
A couple of them, I don't know.
A couple of them, maybe. Well, and it happens. It's with that thought process. Put it out or not put it out and save it and maybe put it out in the future.
Yeah. So
I see a black eye with that, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Maybe.
I always had and still do have, like, I always have a plethora of riffs or half done or partially done songs, depending on what they turn into. Like, there was actually a song that I cut from the last EP. I intended on putting it out, and just when it was done, having learned a lesson over the years of, so like, say for instance, the last couple releases have been EPs, just like 5 songs, which both of them I'm really happy with, because I had learned the lesson of the last couple full lengths, finding out that there's music included on that. And I'm just like, I really don't care for that. I'd rather just have a handful of songs that I really like. But I think, it's taken the years of learning that lesson and actually sitting on a song for quite a while and making sure that it doesn't wear on me, or I eventually don't dislike a certain part. Or, there's songs I put out in the past where it's like, oh, I hear a background vocal that should have been there. If I could redo it, I'd do this differently. So I've learned, over the years in developing songwriting, to sit back on things and let it marinate and then decide,
Well, since you started playing live a lot more, that's another great place for new stuff to see if it catches.
Yeah,
if the audience
for
likes
sure.
it, Yep. Awesome. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened while you're playing on stage? Wow, that's never happened before.
Oh no, this has never happened to me or probably any of us live. But we were playing at a brewery in Chandler, and so the last band, I guess, that was going to play after us, was going to headline the whole show. They had the most gear. They had, I think, both guitarists had full-on stacks of guitars that you would see on like a crazy, like, arena stage. The bass player had a full, like, 12 by or 8 by 10 cab amp, huge amps.
They were intending on putting on a good show.
Yes, they were ready to be loud.
You're gonna hear it from the moon.
Yes, exactly. So they had tons of stuff.
It looked awesome.
Yeah, it looked awesome. Everything was plugged in, and they had all their stuff just kind of like pre-staged and ready to go. So the first band, I think a couple bands played before us, and then we went on stage, hooked everything up, and we just, we don't have a lot of stuff. These guys don't take amps to shows anymore because they just have all modelers and stuff, right? So it's just bass, and then these guys, and then myself, and we have a little pad for our samples, right?
And the lights.
And the lights. Did we have? Yeah, we had lights, right? Yeah, we just had 2 lights. So, anyways, it's not like we're drawing a crazy amount of energy to play a show, right? So we start playing, and I don't know, probably 15 seconds into the first song, power goes out. Whole venue, everything done, lights out. So I have my inner, so everything goes out, and of course my iPad is running on battery, so whatever. So I still hear the samples, and I was like, okay, everything's off. So yeah, we basically blew a breaker in the venue, and it shut everything off. So we had to stop the show, and I was the only one that was closest to the breaker, which was another frightening kind of experience because the breaker was like literally falling apart, like the whole box was falling apart. I was like, and it was dark, so I couldn't see anything because I'm not going to stick my hand in here, right? And then there goes your drummer, right? So anyways, we had a couple lights and stuff. We were able to finally flip the switch back on. The crowd starts cheering again, and then the last, I guess, the band that was on after us, like, I think they just turned their stuff off because they had all their stuff plugged in and it was on, like, in standby mode, I guess, but that was just drawing so much power. And then as soon as we start making noise, I guess that just
that was
everything.
The start of a really bad show. Like,
Yes.
that was like that was the show that we were like, okay, we got our first bad show under our belt. Like, everything just went wrong from then on. It was crazy.
I think because then he broke a string, which kind of hosed him on the set, which was, we had to move stuff around. We didn't play like 2 or 3 songs, and we had to move stuff around. And then so I'm thinking we're gonna play this one song, and then I started playing another song, and it was so bad.
Yeah,
it was a massive train wreck. But fortunately, the next night we had a show at the Blues.
It was great.
and we
Made up for that.
killed it because we were like, all right, we got that crap out of the way, and then we just absolutely nailed it at that. Which I think was that the show that you went to, the Yeti went to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those shows that you went
yeah.
to. So yeah, that was coming off of a terrible show. So yeah, that was probably the craziest, show that anything that's happened to us so far, which is pretty bad.
That definitely takes it for sure. That's crazy. If you're gonna have live entertainment, you should have
power.
a system.
Aside from like strings breaking, that happens. Sticks breaking, that happens. Starting a song wrong or whatever, that happens. There's been times where like I think I got off the click or something happened, and fortunately for the specific song we were playing, it didn't matter too much. It still kind of worked out, but.
I mean, normally breaking a string wouldn't be that big of a deal, but unfortunately, the way my guitar is set up, once you break a string, it's got the Floyd Rose, so it's like it knocks the whole guitar completely out of tune, and you can't fix it. And unfortunately, this was a night that neither him nor I brought our backup guitars, so it's like, well, we're just going to cut half the set and play the other songs that we can with the other guitar.
Oh, and here's the other thing: is the stage was not level, so where the drummers would sit, there was like a 2-inch like drop off in the front of the kit. So I mean, all of us had to like literally extend all of our spurs completely out just to kind of like make up, and it was
fun.
It was fun. Yeah, it was definitely
I mean, like, that's one thing I'm thankful for is I think we're all veterans to the point, or it played music enough to the point where it was just kind of like none of us were really upset. It was just kind of one of those singers like, well, crap.
When you miss a note, keep playing. Find your spot and just keep going. Because guess what? We didn't catch it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Personal experience. It's not. I'm not a musician. I wasn't in a band, but I was on a team, and all eyes on us, and we're harder on ourselves. And
right. Most of the time, nobody knows. Like, I messed up that song, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm well past the point where I let things like that bum me out, because it could have happened to any one of those bands, and I'm not gonna judge them for it or hold it against them, and so I would expect the same from them. I've seen professional bands have issues, and so stuff happens, but I personally like kind of like more little like small stages or stuff that's just like a little bit less than professional. I kind of have a soft spot for that type of stuff. I love tiny stages, and I know that these two probably don't, because it usually means that Jesse's like butted right up against Tony's drum set or something if there's not a lot of room there to move around. But I don't know.
You're catching kick drum in the butt all night long.
Yeah, I love playing like little warehouse shows and like small venues and stuff like that. It's fun.
What's your favorite song to play?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't think I've ever thought about that. Enemy's fun because it's usually early in the set and kind of like that gets us going. Restraint is fun because we end the night with it. Waiting, I really like playing Waiting.
I get kind of bored playing Waiting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily have a specific favorite that I always look forward to. I enjoy a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Untold, and that's why I'm like so adamant about it being in the set. I think it's one of the better songs. It's fun. I really like the breakdown in the bridge. It's a good opportunity to just like get people excited, and I really like playing Restraint because it's just kind of like a fun grooving riff where I can kind of move around and look cool. It's got fun bridge outro. It's just a good song.
I would agree on it. Restraint. I also like playing. Recently, started liking to play Ghost a lot, just because that one has a very soft kind of intro. It's from my opinion, the perfect intro for a set because it's really quiet and it kind of just builds and builds and builds and builds. And once everything comes in, the lights kick on. That's awesome. I just like the space that it kind of creates. There's not a whole lot going on, a lot of dynamics. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Cool. Well, we'll go ahead and break for the intermission, and we will be listening to Restraint next, right here on the Yeti Radio in the Backstage Lounge, live with Traumatone. Here's Restraint.
Here it comes, that awful feeling, or maybe that's not right to say. The deaded rage that's lying dormant, you might be thinking there's no way, but push me, and I'll feel it. Push me, and I'll feel it. Pulses racing, hands are shaking, final last control begins to slip, slip, slip.
Back in studio on the Yeti Radio in the Backstage Lounge, it's Traumatone. And that's why we call it live, because shit happens. You hit the button and it doesn't pause. Wait a minute. I told you to pause. If you could collaborate with anybody, bring somebody back from the dead.
Oh, they had to expand it. That was already hard enough.
Well, obviously Eddie.
Yeah. Oh man. Maybe Chino from the Deftones.
Okay.
You know, get his voice on something. I'm a huge fan of Sleep Token currently.
not the first time I've heard that name.
Yeah. I don't know, because I think in terms of like what would sound good with this music.
Right.
And, you know, naturally, like people, some of the bands I quoted or mentioned earlier come to mind. But probably if I was to think of the best fit, I would say Chino from the Deftones.
Okay. DJ?
I'd probably want to go like something in a totally different genre and see what I don't know what comes out of it. Like, you know, just a weird hybrid that, you know, maybe it's something that's kind of more like poppy. I feel like there's
Come up with your own super band?
Yeah, something like that. I feel like it going like, you know, I don't know who, but it would be something that's like completely out of left field. So it's
okay,
like,
but for a second, there was talk of doing a Cannons cover.
yeah, there was,
which is
talk
straight
of
pop.
Yeah, dream pop. My wife and I listen to a lot of Cannons, and I love that. So something like that, just see what comes out of it. Some heavy riffs, along with something kind of cool and dreamy, or, you know, whatever. See what happens.
I think it would be cool to get some Chris Cornell action on some of this heavy riff stuff. R.I.P. I was still a massive fan of Chris Cornell. Obviously, people know who that person is, but he's got a very unique voice, and I think that's speaks volumes for a lot of the stuff that he did, and it's something that I think would be kind of cool to be able to collaborate with someone with that kind of talent.
Cool. Very cool. What's your favorite venue to play at?
44. I love that stage. It's just because I can move. Like DJ has mentioned, like I like to be able to get into the music and feel it. And, you know, no disrespect to any other venue, you know, in town. I mean, we love playing at the Blues, you know, like they make us feel like family. And, you know, there's been other great places that we've played, but just I personally, like, if I have room to move, I really like the stage at the 44.
Absolutely. No, I'd been to the 44 before, you know, with the old bar, and I met the owner's husband, and he's the one that told me there's some changes coming. I'm like, oh, really? He goes, yeah. He asked me if he was the owner. I said, nope. I'm just married to her. And then was there during some of the transition. And when they got that new sound system and those lights, it's off the chain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's
Bigger stage, a little bit bigger venue than some of the small ones, so you can get some more people in it.
Yeah.
You know, don't stop doing it. And I'm not saying anybody should, but when you got a small stage and a room big enough to hold 50 people, you know, we usually consider ourselves lucky when we get to 51, but still, you know, everybody wants, you know, a little room to breathe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll actually be there next weekend, next Saturday the 2nd, opening up for Trapped. So,
okay,
looking forward to that.
That'll be a blast.
So for small venues, I would say Blues is definitely fun. It's kind of grown on me just because we play there a lot, and like I said, they're really cool people. Yucca's a good spot. I like a lot. Last Exit is a good spot, and then for a little bit like the larger size would be 44, of course, and then bigger than that, I was fortunate enough to play at the Marquee. I thought that's really fun, so that's definitely high on the list. Or it'd be nice to play. Oh, Rebel is a good one too. Forgot about the Rebel.
Yeah, definitely. Been to all those. Got a few more that I still need to try and make it to, but it is hard. One, because we don't have a lot over on this side of town. You know, everything's over on the other, and I'm like, I got to get this done, and I got to drive over there. I'm not gonna make it.
Like I mentioned before, like the big stages. I move around a lot, so you'd think I love big stages, but I don't know. I feel like it forces me to move around more than I want to. The 44 is just it's very fun to play at, and the sound is great. I really like playing Nile Underground. Just the grimy basement show, like that's just kind of that's what I grew up going to. That's what I grew up playing at. It sounds cool. The crowd's always great there. So I'd say that's probably one of my favorite spots. I haven't played at the Rebel yet, but you know, hopefully soon.
I'm 6'5" in the underground. Claustrophobia sets in.
My opinion on that would probably change if I wasn't playing a helix. If I was having to lug a 4x12 down those stairs, I don't think I would enjoy it as much.
True, for sure. If you could play anywhere in the world, I win a stupid lottery. I'm going to put 4 or 5 bands together. What are you throwing in the hat to play at?
I'm going to pass this one off to those guys because I've honestly never thought about it, so I need a minute.
So I don't know if Tony was in the band at that point, but I was fortunate enough to play at the Satyricon in Portland, which is kind of like the CBGB of the West Coast, where Kurt Cobain met Courtney Love. That was like a staple West Coast like kind of punk rock venue before it got torn down. So playing there was very, very cool, but I feel like in terms of just like aesthetic, I don't know, Red Rocks seems like it would be just like a beautiful place to play. I don't really know if our style of music would fit the ambiance of it, but it just looks like a really awesome spot. So I'd play there as a dream spot.
I think just about every genre is played there, so yeah.
I'm thinking outdoor, and as far as outdoor shows go, the Gorge in Washington, up north.
I was going to ask, since you guys are up from that side.
That place, I saw Tool there, and it was absolutely fantastic. So, because at night when the sun goes down, you got like the water behind you and the sun. It's crazy. That would be a sweet spot for sure.
I can only imagine staring at the stage with that background.
It was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily, I guess, think in terms of like dream venues that everybody wants, like, Madison Square Garden or Wembley or whatever. I think my brain kind of goes more towards things that have a type of meaning. So, like, say for instance, I don't even know what it's called now, but it used to be called the Honda Center in Southern California in Anaheim. That's where I saw my first concert. And, I grew up in Southern California, so like, playing an arena show in a, where I grew up would mean something, or playing a big show here locally because this is where Traumatone is really gaining ground, and like I was mentioning to you earlier, the very, very first Traumatone show ever was at the Whiskey in Hollywood, and that's where Van Halen, did their thing. So it's like, places like that, I think that have more of a meaning of some sort is where my brain would go.
Right. That's what I've said about that. The Rainbow, the Viper, everything down there. It's just, that's where, some of us, that's where we know it all started and came from. So going there is always fun and always a blast. You got a song you don't like performing?
Well, if there's a song I don't like performing, it's not in the set, so I can't. No. DJ's about to say waiting.
No, like waiting's fine. Like it's very repetitive, but it's a good driving riff. So I dig that. I feel like there was a song that we played earlier in the set that Behind Your Eyes.
Oh yeah.
I like that one. Is just was that was the one, right? Yeah. It just it's like the only song that we play and that's in E standard tuning, and I don't know, like it just kind of it's shuffled around. There's not like a good spot for it, so it kind of gets put to the end as like our last song, and I just would prefer to end the sets with Restraint. So
okay. That's talking in like logistically, because
right.
It's a great song, but
that's why, like he was saying, it's the only song that we currently play live that's in standard tuning. So
change everything.
The changing of guitars,
have another guitar,
and it's just logistically that makes it complicated. But I mean, me and Tony like it, so
yeah.
we fit it in every now and then.
I do like it because I get to play my pink Charvel for that song, and so it like brings out my inner 80s hair metal band look. So
okay, I thought you were going to say it brings out your eyes.
Oh yeah. Does it?
Positives or negatives on today's, because you've been doing this a while, and you know what it was like before, how hard it was, and now it's just like the floodgates have been opened, and we're drowning in music.
Yeah, so a few years back, probably a handful of years, I went to the NAMM convention and I sat in on a keynote speech by Stuart Copeland, drummer for the Police. And somebody asked him a question, you know, kind of like along the same lines. And I'll never forget, he said, you know, the great thing nowadays is that anybody can make music. You know, you don't have to be a signed band that has a label that puts you in a studio or whatever. You can, you know, get the software and record at home and whatever, and that's all great and wonderful. And he said the bad thing is anybody can make music. And, you know, and then he proceeded to say, like, how you stick out from that, you know, he's like, that's where he's like, I don't know what to tell you, you know, because that is the truth. I mean, anybody and everybody can record something and it can sound like complete crap, but it just, like, the internet gets flooded with everybody doing everything, and I think it is an issue, I think, for most artists, like, really, you know, to the point where, like, people are, you know, paying money for bots and stuff, like fake followers on Instagram, like doing whatever you can to get your numbers up so they get noticed and you get put in the algorithm. And it's like, I'd really much rather build a following naturally, you know. But I think, you know, to that point that he made it, it is a double-edged sword. Like, it's, yeah, great, anybody can do it, but anybody can do it, and how you stick out from that is,
and not everybody should.
Yeah, you got to find some kind of magic formula or trick.
Well, and especially in today's society, when you're not allowed to say anything that's not nice to people, because, you know, telling somebody that they're not good at what they're doing is going to save them in the future, trying to get to a level that they're not going to attain. You know, if it didn't tell you weren't any good at it, and you get down the road and next thing you know, maybe commit suicide or something over it, you know, when somebody should have told you you weren't any good, you should find something else, then we won't have any more, you know, we'll have fewer, I should say. And not going at that in a bad manner whatsoever. It's totally, you know, want the good for me and everybody. You know, it's, you gotta have fun.
Yeah, I think
but you gotta kind of be good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's nice that you can buy like only a couple $100s worth of equipment and make your guitar sound very, very, very cool. I think these days it's a little hard for me personally to find music and find bands organically, and it seems like a lot of stuff is just like pushed at me, and, you know, through the algorithms and, you know, everything else. And so it's kind of, I feel like there's not very, I don't like listen to new bands very often that I've just like come across in some cool organic way, but when I do, I find it very satisfying.
Yeah, that's one thing for me. Like, I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to, like, I have my favorites or the songs that I'll download on my phone or whatever, but, you know, I would honestly say that anytime I'm introduced to a new band, it's because I was introduced to them by someone. Like, hey, I think you might like this, because I'm not honestly actively, because it can be overwhelming. You know what I mean? It's like I'll put on a station on Apple Music or whatever, and it's just like so much of it's just not interesting, and maybe 1 out of 50 songs or something will kind of catch my attention. And, you know, when it's like that, you know, I kind of just, I'm like, well, whatever, never mind. You know?
You remember the Pandora days? I'm not sure if Pandora is still around, but it's a kind of sort of a case in point. There is when I had Pandora, and I was like, oh, I want to listen to, say, Deftones. I'd put it on a Deftones station, and I would hear zero Deftones. It'd be everything else that sounds like Deftones, and maybe it would spit out a couple Deftones songs here and there, but no Deftones. And I picture trying to get your music into the scene is like, picture yourself like you're getting ready to like hop into like double dutch, right? But instead of like 2 ropes, there's like 58,000 ropes. You're like, it's like, do I just jump in, or what do I do? Because there's so many things you can go, but you can make videos, you can post all kinds of content, pictures, blah, blah. There's so many different ways you can do it that it's like, which way's right, which way's better. It's just you kind of have to just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks at this point.
And then there's like there's been a couple bands lately, and Sleep Token's one of them, but somebody grabs a clip of your song on TikTok and posts something, and somehow it goes viral, and then just overnight you're a big thing. And I mean, not saying that bands don't deserve that, because like them, for instance, they totally deserve it. They're great, but sometimes it's just something fluky like that, and just I don't know. Like, I mean, back in the day, you used to have people complain. It's like, oh, you have to know somebody, or somebody would get in because, their uncle works for a record label or whatever. Like, there were those kind of ins, but I think a lot of the time, sometimes, well, nowadays it's just, it can be fluke. Somebody just posts something and it goes viral and you're known.
Yeah, those flukes are one thing to be said, but I also feel the letting the music kind of speak for itself is kind of the way it used to be, right? Is music would come out, and if people like it, then they like it. If they didn't like it, then whatever, they didn't like it, right? But now there's so many people out there. I think they're chasing after that carrot of, oh, I just gotta post something, see what happens. We just need that one post to go viral, and then boom, we're good to go, right? So, which is kind of in my opinion, just kind of a crappy way to go about it, because it's like, then you're making music for the wrong reasons, basically, right? You're just looking for likes, you're looking for attention, right? As opposed to like, hey, I'm gonna write this song, I have this band, I want to produce and do everything on my own and release it, and so people can listen to it and hopefully like it and grow that way, as opposed to like getting tossed into the algorithm and then it just spinning up that way, which is great. Not to say I wouldn't like that. It would be nice, but to solely pursue that route is kind of, I don't know, I feel like sometimes you can shoot yourself in the foot because you're kind of losing sight of what you're actually doing.
Well, and we have the social media platforms to blame for that, because they don't run their platform. A computer does. And the computer looks for numbers, because the numbers are the algorithms. And until you have the numbers to get the computer's attention on most of in fact, all the platforms, if you ask me, because I've got one video, 6,700 views. The one right next to it, 19. How does that make any damn sense? You know what I mean? So,
it's like a pinball machine, right? Like where the ball hit the most,
yeah,
right?
And it's crazy, I know on my end, probably the biggest part is just sharing the things that I do for the bands, because, it helps me get noticed as well. But once it starts rolling, because there's been a few that have rolled and they rolled good. There's others that don't roll for crap because they don't roll it. So,
what buzzwords do we need to like throw into this so that it like the algorithm catches it and spits it out?
Well, a friend of mine does what I do, and not even the volume that I do, but he's got one video that just reached 22,000.
Yeah, maybe we spit out some like brand names or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I try for the top hashtags and everything else, and I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere. Spinning in mud. I think it's because I'm the Yeti, but I guess if I had a pink bow tie and red lipstick on the mask, I might attract somebody.
Always does.
Right? So into the fun stuff. Oops. What's your favorite word in general?
Well, I'm not a lyricist, like I was saying, so I don't think poetically or any kind of...
No, just a word that you hear that you go, oh, it gets your attention.
Dingus.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking of insult words too.
Yeah, that works.
My wife and I jokingly call each other dingus, and so I just like it. I think it's a good word.
Well, I see some of these content creators, they come up with all sorts of weird shit. I'm like, really?
Twat.
Okay.
I don't know why, but that word just rolls off the tongue every time.
Right. As it should.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm not one to leave windows open around.
You gotta grab those.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah?
I
You like the
I
word
think-
yes? You like the word no?
Sure. I think a phrase like "suck a duck" makes me laugh. Like that makes me laugh. Like anytime I hear it, like or you know. But yeah, words I don't know.
Any word or phrase you don't like, other than no.
You know what? When people say, I could care less, because it's supposed to be couldn't care less, so so that kind of it's like it's a little bit like nails on a chalkboard.
Okay. All right, that's a good point because I didn't catch it when you first said it because I already knew what you were talking about.
Oh gosh, I don't know. What was it? Is a word or phrase I don't like?
Yes.
Oh, I feel like I'm an old man. Like, get off my lawn. But some of the like just new lingo that I just I
go with
can't
that, too.
follow it. Like I try. I'm not like purposely trying to be ignorant, but I just like it doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, I guess it probably felt the same way with my parents when I was saying like whatever dumb stuff I was saying when I was a teenager. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of the things that we said as like what I said in high school, like in the 2000s or whatever, was like borrowed lingo from the 80s or previous times. But a lot of the lingo now, it's just like it came out of nowhere. So whether we're saying like rad or anything like that, it was all stuff that was like previously cool.
Like rad was still. I mean, rad is rad. But like word, like that's from like what I would used to like say, right? Like, oh, you want to go and do that? It's like word, let's do that. But like now, apparently, word is like bet. Like bet. It's like what? So what the fuck is that? Bet. Like, where the hell did that come from? Like you said, it just came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, we're just gonna start using these random ass words to take the place of these other cool words. It's like it makes no sense.
I think the thing that drives me nuts though is the words that are actually very shortened versions of other words. Like, why can't you just say the full word? Like, why do you have to abbreviate? I don't even, what does that mean? Oh, it's short for whatever. Then just say that.
Whatevs.
Yeah, whatevs.
We're showing our age here.
Well, my favorite one's a new one, and it's just Haktua.
Oh yeah, dude, that's gonna get you those viral clicks.
That's the hashtag that's up that ain't getting anything.
Spit
I'm
on
like,
that
damn it. That and I actually did Britney Spears, or not Britney Spears, Taylor Swift. I guess I'm gonna have to take that one down since she lost about 15,000 followers or 17, something silly. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual anecdotes. Sorry, I missed a letter there. What's your best turn on musically? There, we'll phrase it that way.
Well, that's almost kind of like a artistic, what is it, subjective kind of thing. Like there are certain sounds, man, like there's certain notes. There can be certain notes or a certain sound that carry those notes that's just like, oh, that's sexy, or it's hard to say because it could be a combination of things, musically speaking.
Okay. Then anything outside of music?
Well, I would say, like, for me, it's a huge turn on for me musically when bands know when to keep it simple. I think that oftentimes, whether it's a band itself or individual member, just tries to overplay their part, and some of the most like amazing riffs or songs or anything are just very beautifully simplistic. And the same goes for guitar solos. As someone who loves the hair metal, I will say that a short and sweet guitar solo is like way better in my mind than something that's like long and drawn out. Like Jade from AFI, one of my favorite guitar players, and like inspirations for guitar playing. It's usually like one song per album where he just lets one rip, and it's never like anything too crazy, but it just having that one just keeps you wanting more, and I like that.
Okay.
Mic'd drums. For those of you that play drums, playing drums by yourself in your practice spot is one thing, but when you go like on a relatively big stage and they got good sound gear and they got everything's mic'd up, and you go for a sound check and you hit that kick drum, and you can feel it in your butt. Whew. Live drums or mic drums, that's a major turn on.
Coming from the drummer, nonetheless.
Yeah.
I would say that also turns me on when I hear that kick drum. When there's like, and then you just hear that first subwoofer hit. It's like, oh, it's gonna sound good.
Turn that mic on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the last time we were at the 44. It was Ghost. There's a synth bass that underlies on the actual bass, and we got to this one part of the song, and I was playing it, and I had a cup of water on the stage, and at one point we got to that part of the song, and I looked down, and the water was doing like the Jurassic Park thing because of that bass, and I laughed
movie.
in the middle of singing, you know. But I mean, like, yeah, that definitely, I think for any musician, like that feeling that bass is just like, oh, that's good when you feel it, because when you feel the music, it's a totally much better thing.
Where's the goat?
Okay, turn-offs.
Tuning your guitar in between songs without it being silenced.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Like bullshitting with your friends and family when you need to be loading your gear off stage. Like, you know, pull your stuff off and then go and, you know, get your praise. So you just gotta just get off the stage.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same boat. But
I know what Tony's going to say.
yeah, building your set on stage before you play. Oh my G, it's like, bro, build your kit on the side or off the stage and then place your set on the stage. Like, there's other bands after you. Get your shit off the stage or get it on as quickly as possible. Like, we don't have a lot of time between sets, right? So if you're up there, you're taking shit out of your bags on the freaking drum riser. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Oh, man.
Unbelievable.
Well, and as a music fan and going to the shows, my hardest part is the longer gaps between tear down and setup. It's just it sometimes it just takes too long, and you know it's hard to keep people engaged at that point. Right. That's why, you know, I've always wanted my own venue. I don't know that that'll ever happen now, but my thing is always to have a big enough backstage area that everything's already wheeled and ready to go, and unplug it, wheel it off, roll it on, plug it in. We're good. You know, it's almost seamless enough that there's almost no break between bands. You know, so
Now you got to get that rotating stage.
yeah, I know.
That would be sick.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Especially when you got these, you know, a large bill of bands on. You know, it's great to get so many different bands in front of people, but you know, when you've got you got like hours and hours, like people are just gonna get worn out. And so it's, you know,
yeah, when you start having more than 3-4 bands, it's just people aren't gonna stay out that long. You know, I do, but you know, sometimes it's hard, and there's sometimes I can't. But yeah, I want to go for the whole show. It's you took the time to put it together. You know, I want to see. From a fan point, just how good you put it together, you know, and okay, let's see. What's your favorite curse word?
Honestly, I don't curse, or try not to.
When you stub your toe on the coffee table.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, usually I grit my teeth But
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, not saying I'm perfect or anything, but I just
Okay. You don't have one. That's cool.
It's pretty like boring, but I think the F word is just, it has so many uses. It's universal.
Right. Kind of
so-
like shit.
Yeah. Like I don't know that. I think there's like a South Park episode where they say shit like a whole bunch of times.
Right.
Like, but yeah, the F word, like, just, I don't know. It can go anywhere.
Yeah, I need that Cartman soundbite. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck.
I usually just add cheese at the end of stuff, like fuck cheese or dick cheese, ass cheese. Just kind of puts a little more flair on it.
Okay. A little more flair, or take a little of the edge off. If heaven exists and you get to the pearly gates, what do you hope you get told by St. Peter or God standing there?
Hope that we get told.
well done, good and faithful servant.
Okay, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Stumped.
Probably just like give me a high five. Like, dude, you lived that shit really, really well. However long I gave you, you fucking killed it, man.
All right.
What took you so long?
Wait a minute, you're the one pulling the strings on that one.
Yeah. Well done, good and faithful servant.
Oh, okay.
You want a
you
beer?
did, you did say that. I'm the one that's behind on that one. Sorry about that. So, tell me about Monster.
So, Monster is the newest single that we'll be releasing on all platforms on Halloween.
Okay.
We just finished editing the music video for it. The first Tramatone music video will be
Congratulations.
released. Thank you. Same day, the video and the song will come out on Halloween. And yeah, it's the newest song. There's a handful of new songs that are going to be going towards the new EP. Hopefully will be out next year if I can write lyrics. But right now the idea is that the next EP will actually be like a concept album with Monster being the first track, and then because the song essentially is about like how can I put it, like almost like a split personality type thing, you know, like I think everybody kind of has that piece of them that's like when they get pushed too far, it's like there's a bit of them that's going to come out that's not nice, you know. And so Monster, the song in itself, is essentially like giving control to that that side of yourself. And then I think the concept of the EP will just kind of be like a battle between the two sides, you know, and who wins, essentially. That's the idea anyway. Because like I said, lyrically, it's hard for me to come up with ideas and things that I want to sing about. So if I can come up with a story, I could probably write easier.
Okay.
You know?
No,
So,
that's cool.
But yeah, it's probably one of the heavier, harder hitting songs in the Tramatone catalog. I really like it. We played it live a couple times, I think. So yeah, it's the new one, and kind of the thing that's gonna, I guess, hold everybody over for a bit until the EP's done.
Okay. Awesome. So we will definitely look forward to that. So there's a show Monday, The Wide World of Music, that I do. I know it's before Halloween. You want me to wait till after Halloween, or?
No, we can do it now.
Well, no, we'll do it tonight.
Oh yeah. Sure. Yeah, I mean, like as much play as you want to give it. That's fine.
Okay.
Like I said,
Well, it would be before the actual release date, so
Yep. Yeah.
I'm willing to do an exclusive pre-release and
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I'll put it on the show then. And
Appreciate it.
congratulations and good luck to the rest of it. And
Thank you.
thank you for coming in. Finally got to meet you and see you play, and it was really good both times. So
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you having us.
absolutely, yeah, I know you got that show coming up on the 2nd.
Yeah, we got we're at the Blues this Saturday,
Okay,
and then next Saturday, the 2nd at the 44.
okay,
Trapped.
awesome. With
Headstrong.
Trap. You got no. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Traumatone in the Backstage Lounge on the YetiRadio.com. Here's they are with their new single, Monster.
I've got 1,000 deaths and all is not well. Inside it's giving rise to someone else. I cannot keep control, although I have tried. Now I've become what I can no longer hide. I am the villain, the broken mistake. Hurt people, you are not safe. I am the bad guy, no one can see. All this pain has created a monster in me. And now the monster becomes one and the same. With myself as I find I have no more restraint. And I feel I am the villain, the broken is made. Hurt people, you are not safe. I am the bad guy, no one can see. All this pain has created a monster in me. So please keep away, please keep away. Don't wanna make you a victim of pain. Please keep away and just let me be, or I'm gonna hurt you and make you like me. I'm sorry. I am the villain, the broken was made. Hurt people, you are not safe. Yes, I am the bad guy, no one can see. All this pain has created a monster in me. He's killing me.
That's Traumatone and Monster right here in the Backstage Lounge on the Yeti Radio. Thank you guys again. Really appreciate it. And, anytime you want to come back, just hit me up and we'll set another date. And
Yeah, absolutely. We'll
you got
come
something
back.
big
and,
coming up you want to tell everybody about? You can have all sorts of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back when the EP's ready.
Yeah, reach out. In the meantime, reach out to us on our socials. Traumatone Official is kind of the universal handle for most of them. Facebook and
Yeah, Instagram Traumatone Official, YouTube.com/@Traumatone Official, Facebook.com/Traumatone. Pretty much, yeah.
Traumatone, and hopefully we'll pull up the official or whatever tags on the end of it.
Yeah, and not the rap guy. If you find any rap associated with the name Traumatone, it is not this band.
Yes. It's kind of like that's how I ended up with the Yeti Radio, because that was the one I could get in everything when I did it. So you had to make a quick decision, and run and go get everything. So I've been fortunate with that. But thank you guys again. Look
Thank
forward
you,
to
sir.
getting to see you guys live, and look for that new song on Halloween
That's it.
on the 31st, and new EP coming next year right here on the Yeti Radio in the Backstage Lounge.
The Yeti Radio, powered by DavidLeeImaging.com. David Lee Imaging in the Titletown Music Archive and the Live 365 app. Welcome to the Backstage Lounge.